Indeed, the one we'll go through first is the biggest of them all with the most public interest, and that's Qantas. A record half-year profit of $1.4 billion, Ed. But look, that coincides with a period where ticket prices have gone nuts. So people are kind of going, well, hang on, you've taken the money off us, now you're reporting massive profits.
Yeah, Ross, today Qantas said ticket prices are 20% higher than 2021 levels and demand from customers has been really strong. That's what's given Qantas this record half-year profit. Remember, it's coming back from $7 billion in losses over the last 3 years. The airline announced a $500 million share buyback, but no dividend. Qantas says domestic capacity will increase to 103% by June, while international capacity will reach 81%. Qantas says ticket prices are starting to come down, but the bad news is they will remain significantly higher than pre-pandemic levels. And Ingrid, how'd the shares look?
Yeah, it was a downward trajectory for Qantas shares today. You can see starting at the start of the session, ending down about 6.8%. In fact, it's seen the biggest fall in 8 months. Investors unconvinced of the future growth in Qantas, particularly with that large capex spend over the next few years.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch the share price fall. Well, I spoke with the chief executive of Qantas, Alan Joyce, earlier today, and just put to him that if there was a popularity contest in Australia right now, that he would lose it.
To me, being CEO of a company is doing the right thing by the company, by its people, by its shareholders and by its customers. And we didn't get the customers right last year, we know that. And we've worked very hard on it. And we think Qantas is now back mostly to its best. We've had the best on-time performance for the last 5 months in a row compared to our competitors. We are in a position where we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in new product and billions of dollars in new aircraft. So I think our position with the customers is going to turn around quite rapidly. And our shareholders have probably never been happier because the Qantas market cap is the highest it's ever been, and we know our employees are benefiting out of this turnaround because we're giving them up to $12,000 bonuses this year because the company's back in profits. So everybody benefits from a company making money like Qantas does because we can make those investments.
Okay, but go back to that popularity issue. If the popularity of your personal popularity, because you've been, the subject of significant attacks, does that bleed into the reputation of Qantas itself?
I don't believe so because, it goes back. I've been in the job for now 14 years, Ross, and I remember back in 2013 being on Sunrise and they did a popularity poll back then, and I think 96% of their viewers wanted me to resign. I think I had the Sydney Morning Herald on the front page of it saying, for the sake of Qantas, back in 2013, Alan Joyce resigned. And then I think a few years later, the Sydney Morning Herald published, we got it wrong, and we apologise to Alan Joyce because he's turned the company around.
So do you think people will apologise to you eventually, and they will see this recovery in Qantas is actually a vindication of the stance that you have taken?
The only thing that I want out of this is a stronger, better Qantas that survived the pandemic, which nearly bankrupted the company, bankrupted other airlines in this country. The only thing I really want is for our people to have secure jobs, for the shareholders to have a secure investment, and for Qantas to invest in some of the most amazing things in aviation that nobody else is doing. That, to me, is what my job's all about. It's not a popularity contest. It's doing the right thing by the company and getting the company into a position where it has those advantages.
But you recognise with a $1.4 billion profit, many will say that a deliberate action to raise airline prices last year attributed to this profit.
So again, one of the jobs I had at the very start was creating Jetstar. Before we had Jetstar in this country, we had a lot higher airfares than we have today, a lot higher airfares than we had in the last 6 months. We now have an unbelievably competitive market. We now have Bonza, Rex and Virgin operating jets on top of Qantas and Jetstar, 5 jet airlines. We've never had that before. And we saw today what competition does. We have 1 million sale fares, Virgin 250,000, Bonza on sale. Jetstar is still the lowest prices, $39 compared to Bonds of $49 and compared to Virgin at $89. And so it is competitive, and airfares will come down as capacity is added. But when you get a supply-demand imbalance, which is happening everywhere around the world, it's happening in Europe, it's happening in North America, you get airfares that are higher, and that's the nature of what's happening with aviation coming out of this crisis. And as we talked about, it does take a while to reactivate some of these long-haul aircraft. We're there domestically, back to where we were before COVID, and in March we have another step up domestically. We're adding 40 flights on Melbourne, Sydney each week from March, and when we get into June it's 50 flights a week. That's amazing growth that we're still doing to get us back to pre-COVID levels.
Okay, take me to your shareholders. At what point can they expect the dividend? Because after paying off $2.7 billion worth of debt, a record profit, why don't they get a dividend?
So we're actually more Australian owned than we have ever been, Ross. We're 75% Australian shareholders, 25% foreign shareholders. Big thing for Australian shareholders is a franked dividend. And because we've had $7 billion of losses over the last 3 years, we don't have the ability to pay a franked dividend until we go through those losses. So that will take a couple of years to get there on corporation tax. And so once we get to the position where we have franking credits again, like we did before COVID, our intent would be to pay a dividend at that stage.